All right, after we've got our construct, all we have to do is, well, we have to obviously get a, well, not obviously, but I'm telling you that you have to also grab another midpoint along this line, and then we're going to start to actually triangulate it around. So if you copy the evaluate curve again, and the curve that we're going to put in is actually this new crosshair that we're putting across the middle, and we're grabbing that. But instead of 0.5, you could leave it at 0.5 if you want to, but what I'd like to see you do, instead of 0.5, I want you to put a dynamic number on there. So let's do anything from 0.0, or, yeah, well, 0.25 actually. Anything from 0.25 to 1. Now, we can actually slide in and out. And actually what I'm seeing here, I think instead of 0.25 to 1, I want to go from 0.25 to 0.75, because I don't want it to be fully open and I don't want it to be fully closed. So I'm going to change this value to 0.75. There we go. Cool. That's what I want. And then one more set of lines. I'm going to connect from these points back to the original centroid. And this is what we get. So now with this triangulated surface, we essentially have, we can start to actually loft these together, and you'll see the form that it makes. It makes, you guys remember that game you used to play where you just like spread it apart and it's got like the little symbols inside? It was like a fortune teller game.
Oh yeah. With the paper?
Yeah. Remember what they're called?
Yeah.
So we're doing something similar to that. Do they have a name, those things?
Fortune teller?
Yeah, like a little fortune teller. Let's see if we can find it here.
Go away!
That little thingy. It's sort of kind of similar to this, but not exactly.
Yeah.
But what we have here, guys, what we do have here is we have an outer ridge, we have an inner ridge. We don't have it disconnected in the center. It'll be as if it's closed. And then we have outer ridge, inner ridge, outer ridge, inner ridge. So for me, what I'm going to do with that is begin to map the lines together. So I've got my inner edges and my outer edges, which are these. So to make things easier on myself, now that I've got sort of a lot of things going on this side, I'm going to connect a parameter. So under params, I picked a line segment. I'll plug that in. And I'm going to call this one appropriately outer edge. I'll just pull it down over here. I'll copy and paste it, plug this one in, and call this one inner edge. And so we're pretty much there. What I want you here to focus on in this place, in this condition here, is the order in which I'm doing this. So you have options. You technically don't have to use the edges as your way of creating surfaces. You could use the points, but the points are going to be a little bit more convoluted because you have multiple sets of zeros and ones and twos in order to make your triangles. So for me, oh, and threes I guess, but for me what I decided was probably the most prudent way of creating those surfaces across these is to loft the edges together. And all I have to do in every case is loft between one of the inner edges and one of the outer edges to create every single surface going all the way around. And that looks like this. You do have to isolate which edges you're going to loft. So under sets list, list item, we can create a slider for up to 4 items. So that's going to be a 0 to 3. And go ahead and plug that in. Make a copy of it as well. And then for the top one, plug in your inner edge. And on the bottom one, plug in your outer edge. So just as a side note, guys, you see that I'm starting to not tag everything. If there's anything that I haven't tagged that you need me to tag, just remind me and I'll fill it out for you. Yes?
What is the outer edge? What is before that? What is that?
Outer edge is plugged into this line
Oh, okay.
set, which is coming out of your back surface deconstruct brep and the front surface centroid. All right, so moving forward here, to create the surface, we go to Surface, Freeform, and Loft. And that part is really simple from here on out. The C input is where you put in the curves, and these list items are actually grabbing those curves. So you plug in your inner edge 0 and your outer edge 0, and it creates a surface.
So you have to do that 4 times to get 4.
Yeah, but you'll see it's actually remarkably easy. Yeah, so the process goes like this, and this is why kind of your workflow is very, very important. I want it to go very fast, so I've constructed my set of 2, and then I can just copy and paste them down and change my numbers in order to get each respective surface. So I'm going to do this kind of rapid fire, and I would suggest that you just watch me for a second and understand the logic of it, and then you can go back and apply it. But really, all I do is pull it up to the top, because I know I'm going to create a long data set here. And I've got 0, 0, so I copy and paste and I pull it down, and I change one value.
For each side?
What's that?
That's one of these for each side. You're making one of those for each side.
Each side, yeah. So I'll separate them so you see that they're in little packages of 2. In fact, I'll group them. So the first one is 0, 0. The second one is 0, 1. Or if you pulled the other side to 1, 0, you can see that that order is not correct because it's jumping across to a different side of the form that you don't want to create a surface between. So that's how I figured I'll go to 0, 1, and that one is correct. So I copy and paste it down. And now, rather than go to 0, 1, I saw that when I went to 1 up here, that was actually this one on the left. So I'll just move 1 up. So now you kind of understand the numbering sequence, right? 0, 0, then we had 0, 1, then we have 1, 1, then we're going to go to 1, 2, right? Yeah, 1, 2, and then 2, 2, right, so on and so forth, all the way down. Two to 2, and then 3, 2, and then 3, 3, and then the last one is a little bit different because you have to leave the top one the same and then return to 0 at the bottom, because that's how you close it. So again, the logic, starting from 0, 0, your first surface is going to go from inner edge 0 to outer edge 0. Your next surface is going to go from inner edge 0 to outer edge 1. And then inner edge 1 to outer edge 1. And then 1, 2. And then 2, 2. And then 2, 3. And then 3, 3. And then 3 back to 0 to close it off. So what I'm going to do is pause there to make sure you guys are caught up. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get this whole section on screen, but I think you get the idea now. So, questions? All right, I'll come around.